First of all, I'd like to begin with my top tips for the IELTS speaking test. So, tip number 1, speak clearly and try to speak maybe about the same speed as your English teacher does when he or she is teaching you in class. Second, remember to answer the question that the examiner asks you. Be very careful when you're preparing. If you use any questions from the internet or from books, bear in mind that the actual question in the test might be a little different. Number 3, if you don't understand a question, then in part 1 of the speaking test, you can ask the examiner to repeat it. So just ask the examiner, could you repeat that please? In part 3, it's probably better to ask the examiner to rephrase the question. So, could you rephrase that please? Number 4, be careful about using phrases like you know and as you know too often. And also be careful what you say at the end of answers. Some students like to say, that's all, that's everything, at the end of an answer. I don't advise this. Number 5, be careful about using words like always and never. You might find it better to use words like usually, occasionally, and sometimes. Number 6, don't pause too much, especially in the middle of sentences like that. Number 7, try not to make too many basic grammar mistakes. If the examiner asks you about another person, don't say something like she go, say she goes. Be careful with plurals, 1 car, 2 cars. And be careful if the examiner asks you about the past tense. Remember to use the past. So, she went, not she go. Number 8, bear in mind you probably will make some advanced grammar mistakes, but this is not really a big problem for most students, especially if your target is band 6 or 7. Number 9, be careful not to repeat words and phrases. Number 10, remember to use connectives and try to use them correctly. Try to use a variety, and be careful if you use connectives like so and because. Remember to try to make your points reasonable and logical. Number 11, some candidates like to ask examiners questions, such as, do you know my hometown? Do you like pizza? These questions are a complete waste of time. Remember that the test is of your English, not the examiner's English. And number 12, a lot of candidates ask, how long should I speak for? I would suggest that when you're preparing, try to make your answers about 30 seconds long for part 1 and about a minute long for part 3.